Choosing the right film for a point and shoot camera is something many people struggle with. Which film is the best? Honestly, there isn't a single answer for that. The best film depends on the camera you're using, the light you're shooting in, and most importantly, the look you're after. But there are a few things you should understand before choosing a film stock. ASA, or in digital version ISO, color rendition, and overall aesthetic. Unlike digital photography, where you can change your ISO from shot to shot, with film you're committing to a specific sensitivity for the entire roll, and that choice will affect every image you make. ASA, which is kind of the older name for ISO, describes how sensitive a film is to light. The lower the number, the less sensitive the film is. The higher the number, the more sensitive it becomes. For example, ISO 100 is great for bright sunny days. ISO 200 is a good all around option. ISO 400 is probably the safest one for most point and shoot cameras. ISO 800 and above works much better in low light situations. The reason this matters so much with point and shoot cameras is that most of them have relatively slow lenses. Many compact cameras have maximum apertures between 3.5 and 5.6, which means they don't let in as much light as larger cameras with fast lenses. Because of that, a lot of point and shoot users get better results with ISO 400 than ISO 100. It gives the camera more flexibility and helps avoid blurry photos when the light starts to disappear. The next thing you'll notice is grain. Generally speaking, less sensitive films have finer grain. Faster or more sensitive films have larger, more visible grain. Kodak Actor 100, for example, has incredibly fine grain. Images can almost look like digital. Kodak Gold 200 still remains relatively clean but starts to introduce a little more texture, while Kodak Ultra Max 400 adds noticeable grain and character. Now, grain isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, for many photographers, me included, grain is one of the reasons they should film in the first place. It adds texture, it adds atmosphere, and the most important, it reminds you that you are looking at something physical rather than something created by a sensor. The question isn't whether grain is good or bad. The question is how much grain fits the mood you're trying to create. Okay, this is where film starts becoming really personal. Different films have different grain, but they also see color differently. For example, Kodak Gold 200 is known for warm tones. It gives skin a pleasant orange color and often produces a bit of nostalgic feeling that many people associate with film photography. Kodak Portra 400 pushes this even further. It gives you warm orange bronze tones with a natural glow in warm colors. It works amazing in direct sunlight. Warm colors become richer, yellows become stronger, and scenes often feel positive and vibrant. Then there is a Kodak Actor 100. Actor is famous for its saturated colors. Blues become deeper, greens become richer, landscapes almost seem to jump out from the frame. It's an amazing film, but because of the strong color palette, it's not my first choice for portraits. For most people, Kodak Gold 200 and Ultramax 400 remain the best option available. The balance between the grain, color, and price range is really good. If you're shooting vacations, walks around town, friends, family, or everyday life, Gold 200 is very hard to beat. If you need more flexibility, especially during cloudy days or in the evening, Ultramax 400 is probably the better choice. It gives your camera more room to work with and handles changes in light much better. And if you're simply getting started and don't want to spend too much money, Color Plus 200 remains one of the easiest recommendations to start with. But also be aware of your camera's limitations regarding its maximum and minimum shutter speed. Some older point and shoot cameras have a limitation at 250 or 1 over 250 of a second, which means that on a bright sunny day, shooting a high sensitive film like ISO 400 or 800 can easily lead to overexposed image. On the other hand, if your camera struggles in low light, a lower sensitivity like ISO 100 or 200 may leave you with blurry photos or frequent flash use. What fascinates me most isn't about the technical side, it's the aesthetic. None of the films I mentioned are objectively better than the other one. They're simply different interpretations of the world with different color rendition, adding their own specific aesthetic to your shot. And that's one of the reasons film photography remains so interesting. The film isn't just recording the scene, it's influencing the scene, it's adding its own personality, its own mood, its own imperfections. So, if you're buying your first roll for a point and shoot camera, I would start with Kodak Gold 200 or Ultramax 400. They are forgiving, widely available, and they work beautifully with most compact cameras. But don't stop there. Try different films, compare them, see how they render the same scene, because eventually you'll discover that choosing a film stock is a lot like choosing a lens, a camera, or even a way of seeing. And once you find the film that can match your vision, your point and shoot camera becomes much more than a simple compact camera. It becomes a creative tool with a character of its own.